So the next concept here is post-fertilization events, structures and effects. That is the after the process of double fertilization, we will see various other events taking place here, and those various events such as development of the endosperm, development of the embryo, maturation of the ovule or ovules into seed or seeds, maturation of ovary into fruit. All these events, these four main events are they are compiled up or together called as what? Post-fertilization events. So together with the events of the post-fertilization, we are going to study the structures of these different components. So the first thing we have to consider here is endosperm. So we have understood in the process of double fertilization, the endosperm is the resultant of continuous multiplication of the primary endosperm cell. You know, the primary endosperm cell is produced because of the fusion of one male gamete with the two polar nuclei of the central cell. So two polar nuclei, haploid and diploid, and one haploid male gamete. So all together forms a triploid nucleus, which is called as a primary endosperm nucleus. So that cell will be called as primary endosperm cell. So this primary endosperm cell will later form a tissue, a triploid nutritive tissue, that is what is called as endosperm. So endosperm development always takes place before the development of the embryo. This is one point to be noted here. So here endosperm development precedes embryo development, which means that development of the endosperm always takes place before the development of the embryo. So this is because embryo needs some support, some nutritional support. Endosperm will nourish the growing embryo. Endosperm will provide a nutrition to the growing embryo, and that is why the endosperm has to be produced first, and then the embryo can be produced. So endosperm, the primary endosperm cell, divides repeatedly to form the triploid nutritive tissue. That is what is called as endosperm. And the cells of the endosperm, they contain large amount of the stored food material. As I told you, that will be helping as the nutritional source for the growing of the embryo or development of the embryo. And so the primary endosperm nucleus of the primary endosperm cell, how do we divide? Of course they divide mitotically, but this mitotic cell division that we see here, this primary endosperm nucleus will divide, so will undergo successive nuclear divisions, which means that if this is a cell, only the nucleus is going to divide without formation of cell walls. That means the number of nuclei goes on increasing. And so this is one structure, this is one big structure or one big tissue consisting of many nuclei or multinucleated tissue, that is what is called as endosperm. And such an endosperm which is formed due to the successive nuclear divisions, that will be called as free nuclear endosperm. The endosperm formed due to the successive free nuclear divisions of the primary endosperm nucleus. I repeat, the endosperm formed due to the successive free nuclear divisions of the primary endosperm nucleus. That is what is called as free nuclear endosperm. So this free nuclear endosperm, you can very evidently see this in the case of coconut or in any other palm plants also. So you have seen the coconut water. Coconut water is nothing but the endosperm. It is a liquid endosperm. So it is liquid. The liquid nature of the endosperm in the coconut is because this is the free nuclear endosperm. The nuclei are free floating there. That means the wall formation will not be there. But in the same coconut, we also see the coconut kernel, the solid edible part, the fleshy edible part of the coconut that we see. So that is also the endosperm, but that endosperm is formed in the later stages. So if you see the tender coconut, you will only see the coconut water. Only after the maturation of the coconut, you will see the harder part. And slowly, when the harder part becomes evident, this liquid part of the endosperm will slowly be reduced in amount. And that is what is actually. So this free nuclear endosperm will further undergo division, and these further divisions, these subsequent divisions, they will be accompanied by cell wall formation. Once the free nuclear endosperm is formed, and this free nuclear endosperm will undergo further subsequent divisions with the formation of cell wall, and such wall formed endosperm will be called as cellular endosperm. So the solid edible part, the fleshy edible part of the coconut can be called as a cellular endosperm. So usually in the younger condition we see the free nuclear endosperm and then cellular endosperm. But this is not true for all the plants. In some cases only liquid endosperm will be there, that is only free nuclear endosperm will be there. In most cases the endosperm will be more often, that is the cellular endosperm, not the free nuclear endosperm. So the best example for here is the coconut kernel. Kernel is the solid edible part and coconut milk. So this is the cellular and free nuclear endosperm. The other aspects of endosperm. See, endosperm, as I told you, the development of the endosperm and retainment of the endosperm within the seed may not be the same for all the seeds of all the plants. Some seeds, they utilize all this endosperm during the development of the embryo. Of course, the endosperm is meant for the nourishment of the embryo, and the entire endosperm is utilized for the development of the embryo in certain plants. So those plants in which the entire endosperm is used, these are the plants, pea, groundnut, beets, etc. That means that during the embryonic condition only, during the development of the embryo itself, the seed utilizes all the endosperm, and there is no more endosperm that is available after the development of the embryo. That means during the seed germination, there is no more endosperm available. But there are certain other plants. So these plants, such as castor, coconut, the seeds of castor and coconut, you can see the endosperm will still be there. You can also add the cucumber here. So cucumber also will show the presence of the endosperm even after the development of the embryo. That means entire endosperm is not utilized during the development of the embryo. Some amount of the endosperm is still retained even after the complete development of the embryo, and that remaining endosperm may be utilized during seed germination. That means when you sow the seeds under the ground, so those seeds they germinate to produce a new plant body. So that is what is called seed germination. So during seed germination, some amount of the endosperm that is retained can be used. So this is in the case of the castor and coconut. So usually these seeds they are called as non-endospermous seeds. These seeds they are also called as non-endospermous seeds, and these are called as endospermous seeds. Endospermous seeds. So we are going to talk about endospermous and non-endospermous seeds and other different types of seeds in the next session. So after the first event that comes after the fertilization, it means after the first post-fertilization event, that is the development of the endosperm. So this is the second post-fertilization event we are discussing about, that is the development of embryo. So embryo development is usually referred to as embryogeny. So that is the early developmental stages of the embryo. So these developmental stages and finally leading to the mature embryo, this is what is called as embryogeny. Though we see in the case of the angiosperms, the monocots and dicots are different with respect to various manner. Here, the development of the embryo, the stages, the sequence or the different stages of the development of the embryo are more or less same. So here, the embryogeny of both monocots and dicots will follow the same sequence of events, that is from zygote to proembryo. Proembryo is a stage where zygote will develop into a two-celled condition or two-celled stage. So this one cell of the zygote will divide unequally, forming two unequal cells. One larger cell and other is smaller cell. So this larger cell will later help in the process of attachment of the embryo onto the endosperm. So coming back to this, zygote will develop into proembryo, proembryo will later develop into the globular stage or globular embryo, then globular to heart stage embryo or heart shaped embryo, then finally the mature or cotyledonary embryo. So here you can see the development. So after the fertilization, you know that the primary endosperm nucleus divides continuously and subsequently it's going to form what? Endosperm. Similarly, so when the endosperm is formed, I had told you in the previous session itself, that is the development of the embryo will only commence after the complete development of the endosperm, because endosperm is the nourishment tissue, the tissue that provides nourishment for the embryo, and this is the kind of adaptation, this is the kind of modification that we see in the case of the plants in order to help the nourishment of the embryo, the development of the embryo always proceeds after the development of the endosperm. So, when the endosperm development takes place, this zygote will start these events of developing zygote into proembryo and proembryo into globular embryo. When you can see this embryo will be the round shape, that is why it is called as globular, and heart-shaped structure, that is a heart-shaped stage of the embryo, and a mature or cotyledonary stage. So, this is the completely mature embryo. So, this embryo again it is different in structure in the case of the both monocots and dicots, because we see the only one cotyledon present in the case of the monocot plants. There are two cotyledons in the case of the dicots. This mature cotyledonary embryo will be different in structure in the case of the dicots and monocots. As we see here, dicot embryo and monocot embryo, the structures are different, entirely different. So, this is the structure of the dicot embryo and this is the structure of the monocot embryo. Let us discuss the dicot embryo first and we can go for the monocot embryo. So, here we can see that two cotyledons are there. So, when you observe any seed, any dicot seed like whether the grounded seed or it can be any other seed like green gram seed or pea seed. So, in any seed you will see two bulged portions, and in between the two bulged portions there will be a groove, big groove. And those two bulged portions are because of these two cotyledons. So that means the two cotyledons will actually will be consisting of these two cotyledons, or the two leaves or two halves of the embryo. There will be one central imaginary axis called central axis of the embryo, on which various different structures we can see. One is the plumule. The uppermost, the anteriormost portion of this embryo on the embryonal axis will be called as the plumule. You know that plumule is a structure which will later give rise to the shoot. And similarly, radicle is a structure which will later give rise to the root. So, on this embryonal axis, so the plumule will split into two cotyledons. Because this is a dicot embryo we are discussing about, there should be two cotyledons, and these two cotyledons will further bulge up to store large amount of food material, and this food material that is stored in the cotyledons will also help for the seed germination later. We can discuss about that later in the seed. And this radicle, which later develops into the root, will have a protective layer which is called as root cap, a thimble or funnel or metal cap like structure. We are studying in the morphology chapter. So this is going to provide a protection for the radicle, because the radicle will be consisting of all young cells, meristematic cells, ever dividing cells, ever young cells. In order to protect them, the root cap will be developed, which is mainly consisting of the collenchyma and sometimes parenchyma cells. So this is the structure of the dicot embryo. Coming to the monocot embryo, the monocot embryo will be consisting of only one cotyledon, unlike the dicot embryo. So this single cotyledon of the monocot embryo is called as scutellum. So you have to remember this one, scutellum. What is scutellum can be an important question for you, one important question, and also important for CET and NEET. So scutellum means it is the single cotyledon of the monocot embryo, is what is called as scutellum. So you can see the on the embryonal axis, you will again see so many different types of structures like the collectile, shoot apex, epiblast, radicle, root cap, and coleorhiza. So you know the different structures. Collectile is the structure that covers the shoot apex. Shoot apex is the region. You can also identify this as the plumule. So shoot apex is protected by the collectile in the case of the monocots. Similarly, the root apex will be protected by coleorhiza. Of course, the root cap is also there. So radicle is protected by the coleorhiza, and the plumule or the shoot apex is protected by the collectile. And on the embryonal axis, the epiblast will be there. Epiblast is a side portion of the on the embryonal axis, which will later develop into other parts of the plant. So this is the structure of the monocot embryo. Monocot embryo and dicot embryo. Diagrams of the monocot embryo and dicot embryo are very important.